Dinner's ready, my mother called from upstairs. Her voice was soft, hesitant, like she already knew I wouldn't be joining. I sat on my narrow bed in the basement, a cracked bulb flickering above me. My plate from lunch still sat on the table, cold and untouched. I wasn't hungry, I just didn't want to face them again. Mark's laughter echoed through the ceiling. "Dad, guess what? Coach said I might make captain next season." Richard's voice followed, proud and booming. "That's my boy. You've earned it." Then silence, like they all remembered I existed. I stood up, dusting off my jeans. "Guess I'll earn my own title," I muttered, heading upstairs. As soon as I stepped into the dining room, Richard's smile vanished. "Didn't I tell you to stay downstairs until you're called?" "I heard Mom," I said quietly. "She said dinner's ready." He leaned back in his chair, knife clinking against his plate. "And what exactly do you think you deserve at this table, Aiden?" "Food, maybe," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Mark snorted. "You should have come earlier. We're out of steak." I glanced at his plate, half a piece of meat still there, untouched. "You're full anyway." "Don't talk back to him," Richard snapped. "He's your brother." "Stepbrother," I corrected. The air froze. My mother's fork dropped. "Aiden, please," Richard's eyes narrowed. "You live under my roof, you follow my rules. You're lucky to even stay here." I clenched my jaw. "Right. Lucky." He stabbed a piece of steak, chewing slowly. "You'll never be like my son." That line hit like a hammer. I'd heard it 100 times before, but tonight it felt heavier. Final. Mark leaned back, grinning. "Don't take it personally, man. Some people are born winners, some aren't." I turned toward him. "And some just ride on someone else's money." His grin dropped. "What did you say?" "Enough." Richard's hand slammed the table. "Go downstairs before I throw you out myself." I met his eyes for a second too long. Then I turned, walked to the kitchen, and grabbed the empty plates. "I'll clean up," I said. He smirked. "At least you're good for something." I didn't reply. I just scrubbed, rinsed, dried, each motion sharper than the last. My mother stood by the doorway, wringing her hands. "Aiden, he didn't mean it." "Yes, he did." She looked away. "You know how he is." "Yeah," I said, "and you know how you aren't." Her lip trembled, but she said nothing. She always said nothing. When I carried the dishes back, Mark laughed again. "Hey, Aiden, make sure my glass shines this time. Last one had spots." I looked at him. Really looked. Perfect hair, perfect smile, perfect life. Everything I wasn't allowed to have. I wiped the glass slowly, then set it down in front of him. "There. Spotless. Just like your conscience." He frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" I didn't answer. I just turned and walked back to the basement. The light flickered as I closed the door. For a moment, I stood there in the dark, listening to the faint sound of their laughter upstairs. It wasn't just laughter, it was a wall keeping me out. I sat on my bed, staring at the peeling paint on the wall. "You'll never be like my son," Richard's voice replayed in my head. I whispered it back, mocking the tone, until it lost all meaning. Maybe he was right. Maybe I'd never be like Mark. But maybe that wasn't a bad thing. I reached under the bed and pulled out my notebook, the one thing they didn't touch. Inside were pages of sketches, business ideas, names crossed out and rewritten. I flipped to the first page. Project Zero, I'd called it. I remembered writing it the night Mark got his first car. I was 14. He'd driven past the basement window, honking like a king. I'd looked at my reflection in the glass and promised myself something. "Someday," I whispered now, tracing the faded words, "you'll regret underestimating me." Upstairs, Richard's voice boomed again. "Mark, remember, success is in your blood." I smiled bitterly. Guess I'll make my own bloodline. The bulb flickered once, then steadied. My chest hurt, but not from sadness anymore. Something else, something sharp, determined. For the first time in years, I didn't feel small. I lay back, staring at the ceiling. Their laughter kept echoing, but it didn't sound the same anymore. Because I knew one day they'd laugh for the last time, and I'd be the reason why. Richard's voice hit like a hammer. You think you can just mope around my house forever? You're dead weight, Aiden. Nothing more. I tightened my grip on the strap of my old backpack. Then I'll make it easy for you. I'll leave. He scoffed. Leave? And go where? The streets? Mark leaned against the door frame, smirking. Yeah, maybe the rats need a roommate. I ignored him and started shoving my notebooks into the bag. My mother stood near the stairs, wringing her hands like always. Please don't do this tonight, she whispered. He didn't mean it. I did, Richard snapped. If he's man enough to talk back, he's man enough to walk out. I looked at her. You're really not going to stop him? Tears welled in her eyes. Aiden, I just want peace. Peace, I repeated bitterly. Yeah, you always choose peace over me. Mark chuckled. Don't be so dramatic. You'll be back once you realize no one wants you. I zipped the bag. You'll be surprised how far unwanted can go. Richard pointed toward the door. Then go, before I change my mind. My chest burned, but I didn't let them see it. I walked to the front door, opened it, and paused just long enough to hear Mark's last shot. Don't forget your basement smell, bro. Might keep the dogs away. I turned. At least dogs know loyalty. He frowned, but I didn't wait for a reply. I stepped outside, the cold air slicing my face. The door slammed behind me, loud, final. That was the sound of freedom and heartbreak. I walked for hours, no destination, just away. My shoes tore halfway through the night. The streetlights buzzed like they were mocking me. By dawn, I found an old bridge near the industrial district. I crawled under, dropped my bag, and sat down on the concrete. Cars thundered above, shaking dust down on me. For 2 nights, that bridge was home. I ate from vending machines, drank rainwater, and thought about every insult Richard had ever thrown at me. Dead weight. Never like my son. Lucky to stay here. Each word cut deeper than hunger. On the 3rd morning, I woke to the sound of metal clanging and someone swearing nearby. Hey, a voice shouted. You planning to camp under my workshop forever? I blinked against the sunlight. A woman stood by a half-open garage door, arms crossed, grease on her cheek. Didn't know it was taken, I said, rubbing my eyes. It's not a damn hotel either, she said, but her tone softened. You look like hell. Thanks, I muttered. She studied me for a second. Name? Aiden. Leah, she said. And since you're alive, you might as well make yourself useful. Can you change a tire? I can learn, she smirked. Good answer. Come on, basement boy. I froze. How did you... She pointed at my clothes. You've got that trapped look. People who've never been free have it. I followed her inside. The garage smelled like oil and metal, ugly but honest. She tossed me a rag. Wipe your hands, not your past. You'll need it. I frowned. You always talk like a fortune cookie? Only when I see someone running from ghosts, she said. So what are you running from? Family, I admitted. Bad one? The kind that reminds you you're not part of it. She leaned against the workbench. You don't owe them a damn thing, Aiden. You just owe yourself a chance. Her words hit harder than any insult Richard ever gave me. Why are you helping me? I asked quietly. She shrugged. Because someone once helped me. Guess it's my turn. I nodded, staring at the tools on the wall. I don't know where to start. Start by not going back, she said. Ever. That night, after closing the shop, I climbed onto the roof. The city lights flickered far away, distant, but real. The stars barely showed through the haze, but I stared until my eyes stung. I'm not going back, I whispered. Not even if they beg. For the first time, I meant it. The wind carried the faint sound of traffic, like the world moving on without me. But I didn't care. I was done being dead weight. This time I'd carry myself, and I'd never let them see me crawl again. No sleep again? Noah asked, sliding a mug of coffee toward me. I rubbed my eyes, blinking at the code on the screen. Define sleep, he laughed. It's that thing humans do when they're not chasing impossible ideas. Good thing I stopped being human years ago. He leaned against the desk, his tone softening. You ever think about taking a break? Breaks are for people who've made it, I said. We haven't. The garage smelled of solder, dust, and burnt circuits. I'd slept there more times than I cared to admit. The walls were covered with scribbled whiteboards, failed prototypes stacked like gravestones to bad ideas. Noah tapped the screen. The backend keeps crashing when multiple users sign in. Yeah, I muttered, typing fast. I know, that's my fault, he sighed. You say that too much? Because it's true. He smiled faintly. You're allowed to be human, you know. Not yet. The silence stretched before Leah's voice broke it. Still at it, huh? I looked up. She stood in the doorway, arms crossed, grease on her hands like war paint. You two need sunlight, she said. Sunlight's overrated, Noah replied. Leah walked in and placed 2 sandwiches on the table. Eat before your brains melt, I took one reluctantly. You don't have to keep feeding us, she raised an eyebrow. You'd starve otherwise, I smiled. Probably, she sat down across from me. So what's this thing you're building again? It's called Linkverse, I said. A network for freelancers. No middlemen, no fake reviews, just skill connecting to opportunity. Sounds ambitious. Everything worth doing is. Leah looked at me for a moment. You really believe this will work? I have to, I said quietly. Otherwise, all of this... I gestured around the cluttered garage. Means nothing. Noah nudged me. You remember what you said when we started? I grinned. Yeah, we'll either make history or make debt, he laughed. Looks like we're doing both. Days turned into months. We coded, argued, and broke things more than we fixed them. But slowly the pieces started fitting. The app began to live. One evening, after another long stretch of testing, Noah leaned back and said, You know what this means, right? What? We're ready, I stared at the monitor. The login page glowed like a heartbeat. You think so? I know so, he said. Let's launch, we exchanged a glance. My hand hovered over the keyboard. Then I pressed enter, the screen refreshed. Server active, it read. Leah clapped. You did it. No, I said, feeling the tremor in my chest. We did it. That night, I walked outside for the first time in days. The city lights shimmered against the fog. My reflection glimmered faintly in the glass window of the shop next door. Noah joined me, sipping from his mug. Feels surreal, huh? Yeah, I whispered. For the first time, it feels like I'm not running from something. I'm running toward it. Leah appeared beside us, hands in her pockets. So what's next, boss? Next? I smiled. We survived the next crash, she laughed. That's the spirit. Weeks later, investors started calling. Emails flooded in. Noah's voice carried through the office one morning. Aiden, you won't believe this. They want a meeting. I looked up from my laptop. Who? Delta Capital. My heart stopped for a beat. Delta. Richard's company. Noah noticed my silence. You okay? Yeah, I said, forcing a smile. Just irony kicking in, he frowned. You sure? Positive. I closed my laptop. Let's take the meeting. That afternoon, we moved into a shared office space. Small, messy, but ours. I stood by the window, staring at the skyline. 2 blocks away, the Delta Capital building towered over the city. Cold glass and silver steel, just like Richard. Leah handed me a can of soda. Penny for your thoughts? I shook my head, a smirk tugging at my lips. Nothing. Just thinking how small the world really is. She leaned beside me. You planning to rub it in his face someday? I looked at her. No, just planning to build something so big he can't ignore it. Noah's voice called from across the room. You ready for the demo? I took a deep breath. Yeah, let's show them what ashes can build. Leah grinned. That's your tagline right there. As I turned toward my desk, the glow of our app reflected in my eyes. The boy from the basement was gone. What stood in his place was someone who'd learned how to build, not from privilege, but from pain. And this time, I wasn't looking back. The day started like any other. Meetings, calls, coffee gone cold. Then my assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Sir, there's someone here to see you. Says his name is Mark Richards. For a second, I thought I misheard. Mark? Yes, sir. From Delta Capital. My pulse slowed, then steadied. Send him in! The door opened and time folded in on itself. Mark stepped in wearing a suit too sharp for the man I remembered. Still smug, still polished, but his eyes carried cracks. He froze mid-step. Aiden? I leaned back in my chair. Mark? He blinked, scanning the office. You own this? I smiled faintly. No, I built this. His mouth opened, then closed again. The silence between us stretched thick with unspoken years. He cleared his throat, forcing a smile. Wow, I didn't expect this. It's been a while. 7 years, I said. But who's counting? He laughed awkwardly. Yeah, well, time flies. I gestured toward the chair across from me. Sit. He hesitated before lowering himself, setting his briefcase on the table. You've done well for yourself. So I've been told. He exhaled slowly. Listen, I'm here on business. Delta's facing some restructuring issues. My branch, it's under review. We're hoping to collaborate with local startups, build new partnerships. Partnerships? I repeated. Yeah. He shifted uncomfortably. Your app's making waves. Investors are talking. We could use someone with your vision. Someone like me. He nodded quickly. Exactly. You know how this industry works. You're smart, adaptable. You wasn't good enough for your father's company, I cut in. He froze, eyes darting to the floor. That was a long time ago. For you, maybe. He swallowed hard. Look, Aiden, I didn't come here to argue. I came here because we need this deal. Delta's in trouble. The market shifted faster than we could react. I need your help. I watched him carefully. The same man who once laughed while I carried his birthday cake now sat across from me, asking for mercy. What exactly are you offering? I asked. He perked up, sliding a folder across the desk. We'd like to integrate your platform into our freelance division. It'll give you exposure to corporate clients and... Exposure, I repeated quietly. You think I built this for exposure? Mark hesitated. No, I built this, I said, leaning forward, because people like your father made sure I'd never have a place anywhere else. He flinched. Aiden, that's not fair! Neither was the basement. Silence fell. The hum of the city outside filled the room. He looked older now, tired. You can hate me all you want, but this isn't about us. It's business. Everything was business to Richard, wasn't it? I said. Even family. His expression cracked. He's not well, you know. I figured, I said. The empire's rotting. Mark's voice softened. You could help fix it. You're good at fixing things. I stopped fixing what broke me a long time ago. He stood, frustration flashing in his eyes. So that's it? You're just going to let us fall? I stood too. I'm not letting anyone fall, Mark. I'm just not catching you this time. He stared at me, mouth parting like he had something else to say, but no words came. Finally, he gathered his folder, muttering, You've changed. I smiled. That was the point. When he left, the office felt colder. I sat in silence for a long time, staring at the door he'd walked through. For years, I'd imagined this moment, me on top, him begging for help. It didn't feel like victory. It felt quiet. That night, Leah found me still sitting at my desk. You didn't go home, she said, crossing her arms. Didn't feel like it. Bad meeting? I chuckled weakly. Depends how you define bad, she leaned against the desk. You saw him, didn't you? Yeah. And? He asked for help, she sighed. And you said no. I said enough, Leah frowned. You could have walked away, Aiden. I did. No, she said softly. You stayed just long enough to twist the knife. I looked at her, tired. He earned it, she shook her head. Maybe, but revenge doesn't make peace, it makes noise. You of all people should know that. I turned my gaze to the city lights beyond the window. This isn't revenge, I whispered. It's reflection, Leah sighed. You're playing with fire. Maybe, I said. But this time they'll face what they taught me. Silence. She stared at me for a long moment, then whispered, Just don't burn yourself too. I didn't answer. Outside, the city shimmered like a mirage, beautiful, distant and full of ghosts that still knew my name. I almost didn't go. When Richard's assistant called about a family dinner, my first instinct was to hang up. But curiosity is a dangerous thing. It makes you walk straight into fires you thought you'd outgrown. The restaurant was old-fashioned. Mahogany tables, gold-rimmed glasses, the kind of place Richard always said was for real men. I arrived 5 minutes early, just to prove I could. He was already there. Of course he was. Richard smiled without warmth. You showed up. I half expected you to hide behind your emails like the rest of these tech kids. I took my seat. Traffic's lighter when you're not running from someone. His jaw flexed. Still got that mouth, huh? Clara's voice broke in softly. Please not tonight. It's just dinner. Mark sat beside her, quiet, eyes on his untouched glass. He looked smaller somehow, deflated. Richard adjusted his cufflinks. I hear you're considering a merger. I nodded. Word travels fast. It always does when money's involved, he said, smirking. So tell me, who's funding your fairy tale now? No one, I said. Just hard work, he chuckled. Hard work? You got lucky, boy. Don't let it get to your head. I leaned forward, meeting his eyes. Luck doesn't work 15-hour days, sir. His smile faltered for half a second. Watch your tone. Clara reached for his hand. Richard, please, but he wasn't done. You think sitting in a glass office makes you a man? I built an empire from nothing, I shrugged. So did I. The difference is I didn't destroy mine along the way. Mark's head jerked slightly, eyes flickering between us. Richard exhaled sharply. You always did think you were smarter than everyone. No, I said quietly. Just smarter than you gave me credit for. The waiter arrived with the food, the air so tight you could cut it with a knife. Plates clinked, forks scraped, but no one ate much. Richard poured himself wine. You could have joined me, you know. I would have made you something. I looked at him, expression flat. You already did. You made me the man who didn't need you. He laughed coldly. That's rich. You think you're free because you've got money? I've seen your kind, young, hungry, and stupid. You'll burn out in 5 years. Maybe, I said. But at least I won't burn others to stay warm. Clara's voice cracked softly. Aiden, please, we came here to make peace. Peace? I repeated. You watched him tear me apart piece by piece and said nothing. What peace could possibly exist here? Her eyes filled with tears. I was scared, so was I said. But I still left. Mark finally spoke, his voice thin. Can we just eat? Richard shot him a glare. You stay out of this. Mark's jaw tightened, but he went silent again. I looked at him for a moment. The golden boy who once had everything I didn't. He couldn't even look back. Richard leaned back in his chair, wineglass in hand. You know, despite all this attitude, I'm proud. You did well for a mistake. The words hit harder than I expected, but I didn't flinch. That's funny, I said. You only call people mistakes when you realize they've outgrown you. His smirk returned. You always were dramatic. And you always mistook cruelty for strength. The silence stretched again, broken only by the soft hum of the restaurant's piano. Then Richard leaned forward, voice low. Let's talk business. You've got leverage now, sure, but every empire falls. You'll need friends when yours does, I smiled faintly. You think I came here to negotiate? Didn't you? He asked. No, I said. I came to return something you gave me years ago. He frowned. What's that? Your words. I paused, letting each one land. You once said I'd never be like your son. He nodded slowly, almost proud. I remember. I smiled, calm but sharp. You were right, his brow furrowed. What's that supposed to mean? I turned to Mark, whose face had gone pale. Your son works for me now. The table went silent. The kind of silence that roars louder than shouting. Richard's wineglass slipped from his hand, shattering on the floor. Clara gasped. Mark's lips parted, but no sound came out. I stood, pushing my chair back. Dinner was good. Let's not do this again. Clara whispered my name, but I didn't turn. As I walked past Richard, he muttered, voice trembling, You think this makes you better than me? I looked down at him. No, I said softly. Just freer. I left before he could reply. Outside, the night air felt colder, cleaner, like a storm that had finally broken. For years, I'd dreamed of that moment. It didn't taste like revenge. It tasted like release. When the headlines hit, I didn't smile. I just stared at the screen. Richmond Holdings declares bankruptcy. The empire that once made me the basement boy had finally collapsed. No sabotage. No schemes. Just karma doing what it does best. Quiet and merciless. Leah leaned against my office door. You see it? Yeah, she smirked faintly. Guess the universe has good timing. Maybe, I said. But it's not satisfaction, I feel. It's quiet. That's what peace sounds like, she said. Loud people never hear it, I nodded. You think I should reach out? To who? The man who threw you out or the one who laughed while he did it? I hesitated. Neither. Just wondering how it feels to lose everything you thought you controlled. Leah shrugged. You'd know better than them. You built everything they said you couldn't. She left after that, and I tried to focus on work. But hours later, when my secretary knocked, I already knew who it would be. Sir, she said, there's someone here to see you. Says his name is Mark Richmond. For a second, my stomach tightened, an echo from the past. Send him in. When he stepped through the door, he wasn't the same Mark I remembered. No smug grin. No shiny suit. Just tired eyes and a wrinkled shirt that didn't fit his frame anymore. Aiden, he said softly. You own this place, right? I looked up from my desk. No, I built this place. He gave a small nod as if he expected that answer. Guess you did. The silence between us stretched. Finally, he exhaled. Dad's company's gone. He's not taking it well. I read the news. He ran a hand through his hair. I didn't expect you to. Thought you'd be too busy celebrating. Why would I celebrate someone else's failure? He laughed bitterly. Because it's mine too, I leaned back. Why are you here, Mark? He hesitated. I don't expect forgiveness. I just didn't know it would all end like this. I watched him struggle with the words, the same mouth that once told me I'd never make it. You never do until it's gone, I said quietly. He swallowed. I tried to fix things, Aiden, I really did. But Dad wouldn't listen. He said we were untouchable. Kings, I muttered. He frowned. What? You all walked around like kings, I said. And when the crown slipped, you blamed the world instead of yourselves. He sighed. You're right. We thought we were better. I thought I was better. And now? Now I just want a chance to start over. I don't care where or how. I studied him for a long moment. He wasn't lying. The arrogance was gone, replaced by something raw. You looking for a job? I asked. He blinked. What? You came here for a reason. Say it, he looked down. Yeah, I heard you were hiring for a logistics assistant. I know it's way below. Your old title? I interrupted. He nodded. Yeah, but I'll take anything. I need to rebuild. A strange calm settled over me. You realize what this means, right? You'll be working under me. He gave a faint, embarrassed smile. I realized that before I walked in. I stood and walked to the window. Outside, our logo gleamed on the glass tower across the street. 2 blocks away, his father's old building sat empty, its lights dark. Funny, I said. I used to look at that place and think I'd never be free of it. He followed my gaze. Now it's just a shell. I turned back to him. And you? I'm trying not to be, he said. Something in his voice, honesty maybe, made me soften. All right, I said finally. You'll start next week, entry level, full hours. No favors, he blinked, stunned. You're serious? Completely. Why? He asked. After everything Because I'm done carrying ghosts, I said. This isn't pity. It's closure. He nodded slowly. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Earn it. He straightened, a flicker of his old pride returning, but this time it looked more like dignity. I will. When he left, I sat for a long time staring at the door. The same door he'd once walked through with arrogance had just closed quietly behind him in shame. Leah came in a few minutes later, raising an eyebrow. Was that Mark? Yeah. What did you do? I gave him a job. She froze. You're kidding. No, I said. He wanted a chance. I gave him one. She crossed her arms. You think he deserves it? I looked toward the dark skyline outside. Deserves a funny word. Maybe none of us do. But I know what it's like to be left with nothing. Leah studied me for a moment, then smiled faintly. You're not the same kid who left that house, are you? No, I said, finally smiling. I'm the man who learned how to build one. It was past midnight, and the city lights outside my window had blurred into streaks. My office was quiet, too quiet, the kind of silence that used to scare me. Leah leaned against the doorframe, holding a mug of coffee. You're still here. I didn't look up. Couldn't sleep. Big surprise, she said with a small laugh. You've been chasing ghosts for years. Now that they're gone, you don't know what to do, huh? Something like that. She walked in and set the mug beside me. Was it worth it, Aiden? I let the question hang in the air. The papers on my desk were contracts, reports, plans, things that once meant everything. Now they just felt heavy. I don't know, I said finally. I thought revenge would feel cleaner, like closing a wound. But it's just quiet now. No noise, no anger, just quiet, she studied me. You sound disappointed. I'm not, I said. Just confused. I thought peace would come with fireworks. Leah chuckled softly. Peace doesn't make noise. It just sits with you until you stop running. I leaned back in my chair, staring at the dark window. My reflection looked older, calmer. You ever wonder what happens after you get everything you wanted? Sure, she said. You realize it wasn't what you needed. That made me laugh under my breath. You always know how to ruin a perfectly dramatic moment. That's my job. We sat in silence for a while, the hum of the city filling the space between us. Finally, she said, you should go home. Soon, I murmured. She sighed. Don't stay too long, Aiden. There's nothing left to fight here. When she left, I glanced at the mirror hanging near the door, a gift from an old mentor. I got up and walked toward it. The face staring back wasn't the boy from the basement anymore. That boy used to shake in fear, dream in bitterness, live on the edge of anger. This one just breathed. I reached out, fingers brushing the glass. You made it, I whispered to no one. You're finally free. The door creaked open behind me. I turned to see Mia, the new intern, standing awkwardly with a stack of folders. Oh, Mr. Cole. I didn't know you were still here, she said quickly. I was just leaving these reports on your desk. It's fine, Mia, I said gently. She hurried forward, but the stack slipped from her hands. Papers scattered across the floor. Oh no, I'm so sorry, she said, dropping to her knees. I knelt to help her. Hey, it's okay, her cheeks flushed. I swear I'm not usually this clumsy, I smiled. It's okay. We all start somewhere. She blinked, surprised by the calm in my voice. Then she smiled, nervous, hopeful, young. Thank you. I just really want to do well here. I know, I said quietly. And you will. For a second, I saw something in her eyes, determination wrapped in uncertainty. It reminded me of another night, another version of me, standing in a room that didn't feel like mine yet. She gathered the papers and stood. I'll make sure everything's organized tomorrow. No rush, I said. Good work takes time. She nodded, smiled again, and left. The door clicked softly behind her. I turned back to the mirror. The reflection seemed different this time. Not older, not harder, just human. Maybe that was the real victory. Not revenge. Not success. But becoming someone who could look at the next generation and say, you're going to be okay. The boy I used to be had always wanted someone to say that to him. Tonight, I realized I finally could. Leah's words echoed in my head. Peace doesn't make noise. She was right. It doesn't. It just fills the space where the pain used to live. I looked at the city lights one more time. You did it, I whispered. You became someone you once needed. For the first time in years, I turned off the office light and didn't look back. The cemetery was silent, except for the wind brushing through the trees. I stood in front of Mrs. Carter's headstone, hands in my pockets. The marble looked smaller than I remembered. I made it, I said softly. You told me once you're not what they say. You're what you prove. I didn't understand then. My voice caught for a second. But I do now. I pulled a folded note from my coat and placed it at the base of the stone. Just 2 words written in blue ink. I did. For a moment I stayed there, letting the quiet do the talking. No audience. No applause. Just me and the woman who once believed when no one else did. When I finally turned back toward the city, the weight I'd carried for years felt lighter. Not gone, but softer. By the time I reached the office, morning light spilled through the glass walls. Mark was already there, sorting through files. He looked up, nervous but trying to smile. Morning, boss, I paused. That word used to sting. Now it didn't. Morning, I said. He hesitated. You okay? I'm good, I replied. Better than good, actually. He nodded slowly, relief flickering in his eyes. As I walked past him, I caught my reflection in the glass. Calm, steady, whole. No revenge left to chase. No ghosts left to fight, just peace.